Joining us now, Georgia Republican Congressman Buddy Carter. He's a member of the House Budget and Energy and Commerce Committees. Congressman, what do you think the prospects are? Democrats say they would like to see a trimmed down, slimmed down, build back better. What do you think?
Well, certainly we all understand that when they talk about cutting it back, they talked about cutting it back from $3.5 trillion to $1.75 trillion, when actually all they did was cut the length of the programs. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, made it perfectly clear that it's still going to cost $5 trillion, and it's still going to add $3 trillion to our debt. Just saying that you're going to cut back on the length of these programs is not going to decrease the cost of these programs. And that's what people have got to remember. Look, I'm a big fan of Joe Manchin's. My Christmas present came early this year, and I'm glad that Joe Manchin represents West Virginians and not the woke left.
Well, the president said that this is not going to add any debt to the nation's ongoing debt problem.
You know, how someone can believe that is just simply beyond me. I mean, I don't understand why this president is not working on the issues at hand. That is the border, that is the supply chain issues, the worker shortage, inflation. All of these things we should be concentrating on, but this president seems to be ignoring these things. Instead, he's wanting to push forward on this Build Back Broke plan that is essentially going to add more taxes to the middle class and the working class. It's going to put us more into debt. It's going to cause more government intrusion into our lives. Those are the things that he's trying to do when he should be focusing on the other things.
The president, that is the Democrats, hold the presidency. They've got the Senate. They've got control of the House of Representatives. What does that say to you when a bill like this fizzles?
Well, there's no question about it. It's obvious that it's got so much in there that it's going to cause more harm than it is good. There's no question about that. It's going to add fuel to the fire of inflation. We've already seen what has happened with inflation now. This would only do more for inflation. It wastes billions of dollars on Green New Deal initiatives, addressing issues that we don't need to be addressing right now, and instead ignoring issues that we should be addressing right now.
You know that Joe Manchin has taken an awful lot of heat for his refusal to go along with this. What do you say to the senator from West Virginia?
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. You delivered an early Christmas present for all of us. I'm glad to know that there are still Democrats who understand fiscal responsibility like Joe Manchin does. And he's not alone. There are a number of Democrats that understand that we cannot continue to just swipe the credit card. We've got to cut out the credit cards in Washington, D.C. We've got to stop this intergenerational theft and putting this burden of trillions of dollars of debt onto our children and our grandchildren.
The president, though, said he was going to get this passed, and he didn't do it. Why not?
Well, obviously, he doesn't have the votes to do it. Obviously, it is too radical and too liberal of a plan to get passed, even for those moderate Democrats who understand that it's going to add to the national debt, who understand that it's going to raise inflation, and who understand it's going to raise taxes on the working class and the middle class. They all understand that's what's going to be a result of this.
So do you think that there is a version of this? I mean, the Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, says he will schedule a vote for next month. Do you think there is a version of this that can be trimmed down enough that somebody like Joe Manchin would go along with it?
Well, if he can come up with a plan that will not incur more debt, that will not raise taxes on the middle class and the working class, that will not cause government intrusions into people's lives, then perhaps he could get something passed. But in the form that it's in right now, there's no way that he can get this passed. This is simply irresponsibility on the part of the president and of the liberal Democrats.
Interesting that one of the proposals would give amnesty to illegal immigrants in this country, right?
Right, and which is the last thing we need to be doing. We need to secure our border. People understand, for not only because of illegal immigrants, but because of the illegal drugs that are coming across that border. We know that right now we've got enough fentanyl in this country to kill every American 7 times over. These drugs are infesting our communities, and we have to address this. It's much more than just illegal immigrants at our border. And granting amnesty to all of these people, that would be a tragedy.
So if you could advise Senator Schumer or even the president about what you think would work in terms of an infrastructure bill or you know, the replacement for that, the Build Back Better replacement, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to look at my legislation to build better borders, and that legislation would build the wall on the southern border, and that's what we need to do. That's the kind of infrastructure that we need right now. People really are concerned about what's going on at that border, even though the Democratic leadership appears not to be concerned about it. People in this country are concerned about it. And yes, we did pass, or I should say that a bill was passed, a bipartisan infrastructure plan, that it does have some good things in it, but also has a lot of bad things in it as well. But infrastructure, yes, we all want infrastructure, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or an independent, but at the same time, we cannot afford to raise taxes on the middle class and the working class. We cannot afford to add to our national debt, and we cannot afford to have more government intrusion into the lives of our people.
Isn't it the case that a lot of the material that was to go into the wall has already been paid for and is now just sort of sitting there on the border rusting?
Absolutely. I've been down there twice this year myself, and I've witnessed it just sitting there, as you say, rusting. And you know, we'd have miles of wall and then gaps in those walls. Just unbelievable. The poor work or the poor leadership that we see coming out of the Biden administration right now.
Georgia Republican Congressman Buddy Carter, Merry Christmas to you, sir. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.